Hello everyone and welcome back to WSO2 API Manager Series version 4. My name is Kumar Gaurav and I'm back with another video on WSO2 API Manager. So this video is part 3 of overview of API portals. So let's get started. Here is the quick agenda for this session. So the second part we have covered about the overview of developer portal. We have seen the insight of a developer portal, different navigations, and now we'll see the overview of admin portal in this session. Admin portal is basically used by an admin user for different administration tasks such as rate limiting policies, API gateways management, API categories, key managers, approval tasks triggered by a workflow, application settings, scope assignments, and some advanced configurations too. So we'll be covering all those features as we have discussed. So we have a login, dashboard, rate limiting, API gateways, API categories, key manager, tasks, and settings. So once we go to the login screen of the admin portal, it will look something like this, which is same as the publisher and the developer portal. So we have to navigate to the link as http localhost 9443/admin. This is for my local deployment. In your case, you have to replace with your host name and the port number. The context remains same. And once we have logged in successfully to the admin portal, the screen will look something like this, where all the features will be accessible from the left hand or the left side navigation menu options. So without taking too much time, let's jump to the demo to see how we can use those features of WSO2 API Manager admin portal. So in admin portal, we are going to cover these topics. Okay. So our API Manager server is already running. So we'll navigate to the browser, localhost 9443/admin. Okay, so we'll log in with the admin credentials. Okay, so this is the dashboard for the admin portal. In the left navigation, you can see there are different options like rate limiting policies, gateways, API categories, key managers, tasks, and settings. On the right hand side, there is also a quick navigation to this particular like uh, the options where we can easily navigate. So if we go to the first option, which is advanced policies. So rate limiting policies are, some of the policies are pre-configured and an admin user can create a new rate limiting policies and can attach them to the respective section. Like it could be on API level, application level. Okay. So here, let's say we are talking about the advanced policies. So whatever policies, as you can see here, these policies, as we can see in the publisher portal against respective API, the configuration. Okay, so let me just show you where you can locate this and you can map where you are going to make the changes. So as of now, let's see, we have, these are the policies. So we are navigating to the publisher portal. Okay, so let's open the pizza shack API, and if we go to the resources. Okay, so in the resources section, you can see the rate limiting is level on a API level or a operation level. So this is on operation level. So each and every resource having a, can be configured as a different rate limiting policies. We can have a 10k per minute, 20k per minute, 50k per minute, and these are the policies that are available here. Okay, if you would like to have a same rate limiting policies to be there, we can select the API level option and we can configure a particular rate limiting policy. If we create a new rate limiting policy from here, it will be populated under this section. Okay, so this was all about the advanced rate limiting policy. Let me show you the screen as well. So here we have to provide the rate limiting policy name, the description. We can define the rate limiting based upon the request count or the bandwidth. If it is on the request count, we have to provide the unit time like request per minute, request per hour, day, month. Okay, so these are the default limits, which we can create a new one. And we can also define a bandwidth, like this amount of payload per minute, this amount of payload per day could be allowed. Okay, we can also have a conditional group uh, for the throttling limits with the different parameters, like based upon the IP address, custom header, query parameter, and the JWT claim conditions. Okay, so if we click on this, we have to expand this. Okay, so let's say we have to add a condition based upon the IP address. So we have to add an IP address here. You can specify a IP or the IP range as well. In case of IP range, could be a start IP, end IP. Okay, similarly, we can have a header condition policy. If header is matching to this value, then this policy to be applied. We can have a query parameter. If this query parameter is matching to this value, then this condition to be applied. And similarly for the JWT as well, we can define a claim name and the value. Okay, yeah. So this was all about the advanced rate limiting policies that can be created. Now let's navigate to application policies. So application policies are basically available to a developer via the developer portal. Okay, so let me go to the dev portal. We'll navigate to applications. As of now, we have only one application, and we can see what are all policies available. Rate limiting policy to application, which is 50 per minute, 20 per minute, and 10 per minute. If we go to the developer portal, let's create a new application, and we can see here we have a 10, 20, 50, and unlimited option. Okay, the same happens here as well. Unlimited is provided by default, so it's a 10, 20, and 50 per minute option available for this application. So let's say this is basically for the token application. Tokens are basically generated based upon the client ID and secret. So this is the quota that restricts the amount of the token can be generated. Okay, so that's all about the application policies. Then it comes to the subscription policy. So with API Manager 4, the subscription policies are based upon the request count and the event count. As API Manager 4 comes with out of the box async API support, so for async part, we will be covered in a separate session in detail. But as of now, let's take a quick look of all these subscription policies that are available. So these subscription policies are basically or applied on an API basis. Okay. So if we go to an API and if we go to portal configurations and the subscriptions, so we can see these are all the policies that are available as of now, that are termed as a business plan. Okay, so these based upon these subscription options, these API can be accessed. Okay, we can also create a new policy the same way we have discussed. Yeah, so let me give you a quick look again. So these are the general details. The quota limit, again this will be request count, bandwidth, and for async API this could be a for the event like async API support. We can define a burst rate, like so that our server cannot be have a concurrent request handling beyond a defined rate limiting quota for the burst control. We can also define for the GraphQL. We can also define for the webhooks, and we can also define a policy flags if it is on a it is coming on a billing plan which is free or a commercial. Okay, we can stop this API's access beyond the quota reach. Okay, so yeah, so these are all the policies applied. We can define a permission, we can add a custom attribute which is nothing but a key value pair. Okay, yeah, so that was the for the custom subscription policy creation. uh, Under the subscription policy we can create a new policy. Now creating the custom policies. So custom policies, let's say you have come across all the policies and the requirement doesn't match. So WSO2 API Manager facilitates you can define a custom policy and get the same implemented using the Siddhi query. Okay, so you can use the sample Siddhi query template, and you can which is similar to the SQL query. So you can use this section to create your custom policies. Okay, so then there is a deny policy. There are certain scenarios where you have to stop accessing a particular API based upon the certain condition. So we can create an the denial policy. Let's say a particular API context is called, then we can stop the access. If particular application credentials are getting used, so we can stop those that particular application access. We can stop the IP address values if the request is coming from a specific IP. We can also define an IP range to not allow the API access. We have to specify the start and end IP address, and also we can have a user based denial policy as well, where we have to provide the username so that that particular user credentials cannot be used to generate the access token to access the APIs. Okay. Yeah, so that's all about the rate limiting policies. Then comes to the gateways. So gateway provides uh, this screen provides the gateway management. So as of now we can see we have only one gateway. If you go to the publisher portal, go to the deployments, and we can see this has defined to a particular this gateway access URL. Okay, so we can have multiple gateways where we can deploy our API. Okay, we can create a new gateway environment. So let's say there is already a running API gateway which is available, and we would like to publish the API from this publisher portal to that particular gateway. So we have to attach that gateway from this screen. We have to find the name, the what name to be displayed, the description. We have to provide the gateway host. Okay, these are the sample the URLs where your the gateway will be accessible from this particular node, and these are some of the advanced settings for HTTP, HTTPS, and WS and WSS ports. Okay, yeah. So once this is added, this could be available. The default gateway cannot be edited or removed, as this is provided by the product itself. Okay. Now go to API categories. So API category basically defines the logical grouping of your APIs. Although we have a tagging feature available that is available through the publisher portal, sorry, through the developer portal, but we can use this feature as well. So where does this option sits in publisher portal? Let me show you. If you go back to the portal configurations, basic information, and if you go here, you can see there are no categories defined, and even the drop down is disabled. That means there are no categories available. So just for a curiosity, let me create a new category. Let's say internal APIs, internal APIs access. Okay, let me save this. Okay, so it should not contain any space. Okay, once this is done, let me refresh this page and it should be populated here. So now this has been enabled and internal APIs has been coming over here. Okay, so that was all about the API categories. We can delete this. Okay, key managers. So this is one of the most important feature provided by WSO2 to support multiple key managers. So WSO2 out of the box provides itself a key manager, which is a resident key manager provided by WSO2. We can attach the external key manager as well. Okay, so if you check out the WSO2 API manager document, add new key manager. So you can check it out with WSO2 API manager version 4. These are the key managers supported in addition to the resident key manager. So as of now, WSO2 identity server can be used as a key manager, key clock, Okta, Auth0, Ping Federate, ForgeRock, or any custom key manager. Okay, so let me take you the example of WSO2 IS. So uh, this step basically tells how you need to install, configure, and then integrate with WSO2 API manager to use WSO2 IS as a key manager. Okay, see these are the downloading installation steps are defined. Then you have to define for the connector, you have to install that connector, how you should integrate. So the second step, which is important, which is applicable to all the key managers. So you have to navigate to key manager and you have to add a new key manager. Okay, so we can click here button. We have to provide the details. Okay, key manager information, what is the type of a key manager. You can see the all the options are supported options are available in the drop down itself. So based upon the option, you have to fill the respective details. Okay, so API invocation method could be direct token or the token exchange. Okay, so these all configurations you have to provide to configure a third party key manager. Okay, so if you go there, so yeah, so these are all the some of the options are mandatory while some of the options are optional options that that can be avoided to fill up the details. So we will be covering a separate session on configuration of an external key manager, where we'll take a deep dive there. For now, this is the brief insight. What are all key managers available, how we can create and configure a new key manager, and how we can integrate with WSO2 API manager. Okay, let's go back. Okay, so now we have covered about the key managers. So next it comes the tasks. Tasks are basically related with the workflow. Okay, so let's example, we are creating an APIs, we are publishing the APIs, and it is getting published. There is no restriction. So what if there is a scenario that there are multiple users, and there is a restriction that if a user is performing some task, this must be approved by a competent authority before it goes to the production or before it becomes live. Okay, there it comes to the scenario of the configuration of the workflows. Okay, so if you see the WSO2 API manager documentation, WSO2 APIM plus workflow configuration. Okay, so there are multiple. I will let me take the first example. So you can see, for example, adding an application creation workflow. So for example, let's say there are multiple APIs available. Okay, so there are new developers that are coming to your developer portal through the self sign up. Okay, now let's say developer is going to create an application and start using the APIs, using the credentials. So we would like to have a restriction on that particular application creation, and we say that this must be approved by an admin user. Okay, so we can create an admin or a user with an admin role who can approve those requests. Okay, so that's a simple step that you have to navigate to this particular configuration under the Carbon console. Okay, so for Carbon console we'll be having a separate session for the deep dive, but for now you can see you have to navigate host port 9443 Carbon and main resources. You can browse and you have to enable this workflow extension. So once you enable this extension, and any new applications is getting created, it will go to the inactive state. This will say that it's waiting for approval. Approval is required for this particular application creation. Okay, and then it will be visible to an admin user as this format: approve or reject. Okay, as you can see, as of now there are no tasks available. So for example, a new user creation task. So whenever a new user is getting created, so that must be approved. So if a user is coming via self sign up, this user must be approved by an admin user. It should not be like a user has done a sign up and start using the stuff. So this is more granular and access control to your systems, while the external entities or some user is performing some task. So you can have a strong control over there. So these are the options. You can approve or reject. So the structure remains same for all the options. There are user creation workflow, application creation workflow, which is typically done via the developer portal. Subscription creation, again, a new whenever a new subscription is created, or the subscription request is made, a subscription is getting changed, a subscription is updated. For a new application registration, this is for the OAuth flow. Application state change, so we have the API life cycle. Okay, so we have a life cycle. If we go to the life cycle, we have deployments. Okay, we have life cycle here. Okay, so whenever, let's say, this was done by some user. Okay, that was a competent authority to manage the stuff. The user left that organization, or user left the particular project. Okay, now a new user has came, but I don't have a confidence that he's doing the things right way, or I would like to get notified whenever he's going to make the changes in the API state, or he should not make the changes accidentally. Okay, so I would like to have a control over there. So if I apply the policy, then it will come to the API state change whenever it will click on any of this button. Okay, so that will kick a workflow and the request will come to uh, in the admin portal that this API state change has requested. Post approval only that lifecycle state will be changed. It is not like it will click and it is done. Okay. API product state change. So API product is nothing. It's a collection of multiple resources of different APIs. We'll be having again a deep dive of API product management section separately. But for now, this is similar to your API state change, where you control over the state change of your API product, which consists of the multiple resources of multiple APIs. So let's say we have three APIs, four resources each, 12 resources, and we have created a product API product with two resources each. Okay, so we would like to manage this particular product lifecycle. Okay, cool. So now we have covered the workflow tasks. Now go to the settings. So we can manage the application settings from here as well. So let's say there is an admin user, there is an application default which is owned by admin, there is a default application owned by Kumar. So we can change, what all we can change, we can change the ownership from here. Okay, so this is particularly helpful. Let's say there is a user, owner means the user who should exist in your system. So let's say there is a user Kuma who has been working on this project, who has created this application, and all the things are getting done by this user only. Tomorrow the project has been shifted to a or let's say a user has left the particular project. Okay, now other user can't make any changes, whosoever has been assigned. So an admin user can make the ownership changes to that particular new user, so that a new user can do the needful from his account only. Okay, so that was all about from the applications perspective. Scope assignments. So scope basically provides the fine grained access control. So these are the default roles that are available in WSO2 API Manager. These roles can be visible via Carbon console. Uh, uh, we will be covering that particular session separately. So for now, we can say that these are the default roles. So whatever role that is available in the Carbon console, that must exist here as well, so that uh, there should be no gap in the role based access control. Okay, so whenever you are going to create a new role with a specific permissions, okay, via the Carbon console, we must have that scope mapping via the admin portal as well. Without this, despite of creation of the role, it will not work. It will always throw a 403 permission denied or permission related errors for accessing the API using that particular user credentials. So whenever we are creating a new role, this must be created here before we assign it to the particular user. Okay, so let's see how the screen look like. So we can define a new role. So this is basically the second step. The first step is to create a role inside via the Carbon console. So let's say we create a role like testing admin. Okay, and now we have to provide the permissions. So these all are the default permissions, so that all the like these roles should get automatically assigned a particular permission to that particular user. Otherwise you can also have the facility to define a custom permissions on that particular scope. So we can have, let's say we pick couple of things from admin. We we picks like a handful of the roles or the permissions from the publisher, some from the dev portal, some from the service catalog, etc. Okay, so this way we can have the scope mapping. Okay, so now we have covered the scope assignments. Let's go to the advanced option. So advanced option provides the command line type of a look and feel, where you can make the changes or you can have the scope related changes to be managed from here. It's always advised to not to make direct changes here until unless you have other proficiency in this particular section. But yes, for any advanced configuration that would like to make change, we can do this, we can do from this screen. Okay. Okay, so now we have covered all the options of the admin portal. So thank you very much for your time. So thank you very much for your time, and stay tuned for my upcoming hands-on lab exercises on WSO2 API Manager 4. You can refer to my blog links for useful contents on WSO2 products and official API Manager documentation as well. And don't forget to subscribe my channel for upcoming videos and hit the bell icon to get the latest updates.